Hey there, webheads! George the Max Extreme here.
And Ghost Hunter Dave.
Together we string up crime in our webs as IMPERIUS REX.
Take a breath. Take a breath, Troy. In order to get our spider senses tingling for that brand new Spidey movie, just catch that.
Caught a fly, just like a thief.
So we decided to finally read some Spider-Man comics for the show.
You vowed against it your whole life.
That's right. It's been an ongoing joke on the program that I would never allow us to do a Spider-Man themed episode, even though he's your favorite superhero character of all time.
Yeah.
But today, I break my vow.
Thank you.
And we give you not one, but two.
That's right. We're double dipping.
Spidey stories.
It means we probably won't be back for a while.
That's right. All right.
All right.
Good?
I am.
All right. It is such a mess down there. So we're going to kick it off today with a little title, Spider-Man Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the Marvel Comics Color Series, brought to us by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Yeah.
Best known for their Batman work.
I know.
Along with their Marvel Color Series.
I know. They killed it.
Yep.
Two different publishers nailed it.
That's right. So this was a 6-issue limited series published in 2002. And it's narrated by Peter Parker himself as he dictates his thoughts and grievances into a tape recorder on Valentine's Day. Something he's been doing for some time now. In an effort to just kind of make sense of his thoughts surrounding the death of his one true love, Gwyneth Stacy.
Is it Gwyneth or is it Gwendolyn?
It's Gwendolyn Stacy. That's basically what it is. It's Peter just kind of looking back on the good times.
Yes.
And the bad, because it wouldn't be Spider-Man if that sweet wasn't mixed with the sour, my friend.
That's right. That bittersweet Peter Parker luck.
That damn Parker luck.
I know.
God damn bullshit Parker luck.
I know. It's there. It's always rearing its ugly head.
That's right.
So this is actually the first time I've ever gotten to sit down and really read Spider-Man Blue. Unfortunately, the ending has been ruined for me for a while.
Okay.
But I didn't actually know the mysterious adversary.
Ooh.
Up until maybe 3 issues in, and I'm like, oh, it's this person.
Yeah, right on. Obviously.
But somehow that wasn't ruined for me. But the whole him dictating into the old Uncle Ben tape recorder to Gwen Stacy while being married to Mary Jane, that I knew that whole scheme.
Yeah, I read this once before, so I guess I already knew that going in, and it didn't like catch me off guard. Was it supposed to catch you off guard that he's talking
I don't know.
about Gwen to Gwen while married to Mary Jane?
Maybe. I think it was supposed to catch you more off guard near the end where she, like, catches him doing it. And you're like, oh, he's in the shit now! But then it ends up being an actual bittersweet moment on, like, how they actually were all friends.
Yeah.
And then, not to, like, just jump right to the end.
Spoilers! Everything we just said.
But it's pretty sweet. Like, yeah, we all miss her. Say goodbye for me, too. It's like, oh, very well done. We're all adults here.
Yep.
We get how things work.
That's right. This book does what all Loeb books do, and that's it lumps a bunch of villains and events together, usually over a calendar year. So a lot of this is almost kind of streamlining and making sense of old, like, Silver Age Spider-Man stories, right?
Yeah.
I think it covers issues 40 through 48 and 63, apparently, of the Amazing Spider-Man run.
Okay.
The old, like, Stan Lee era. But it kind of, like, reworks certain elements to make it one kind of, like, continuous story.
Yeah.
That builds on previous issues, where back then I think they were a little bit more, like, one and done.
Yep.
Which I like. This is something where I think it's great for new readers, and also for, like, comic book fans that might not have read all of that material, but they just kind of want to, like, jump into what's current.
Right.
And it wouldn't hurt to have a little background and context going into it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it when they do stuff like this.
Yeah,
and
so
I
do
think
I.
Jeff Loeb is a good fit for that.
Yeah, I love that the fact that anytime he's on a book, you're gonna see like a ton of people in it.
Yeah.
Like it's like one of my favorite things. I'm like, oh, Jeff Loeb's in it? There's gonna be at least 50 people in this.
Yeah, I know, and I feel like maybe I've worked myself into thinking that's like a bad thing, when I don't know if it is. It makes me happy that we get this big cast of characters.
Yeah.
And
I don't think ever... Well, let me rephrase this. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever been let down when Jeff Loeb throws everything at the table.
Bite your tongue.
But... Ultimatum happened, and that's too bad. But anytime he's done like a big event, and even like DC, everything's just getting thrown at, like, every villain is in there, and and I love it.
And I don't mind too that even though he throws everyone in, it's usually a long spanning story where it's like, okay, he didn't fight them all in a week. Right. This is like a year out of his life. So it makes sense. Like in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't like this bombardment of costume characters.
Right.
Speaking of costume characters, the artwork by Tim Sale in this is jaw-dropping.
I think it may be the best Tim Sale art I've ever seen.
I think so too. And I mainly know him from his Batman work.
So do I, yeah.
And I enjoy that, but I feel like he is just perfect for Spider-Man.
Right.
Like his bouncy, loose work, it just works so much better for a character like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the colorist on this, I think it's Steve Buccellato? Not sure on the pronunciation, Steve. I apologize, but your work is phenomenal.
It speaks for itself.
The book is colors, Marvel colors, so they obviously play a prominent role.
Yeah.
And they're so great in this. Like, it really gives it such an energy and vibrancy to this, where it's just, like, really fun to read, even though it's centered around a very dour subject matter.
Right. I even like that every single issue is dedicated to Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and John Romita Sr., because, like, a lot of it around this time is taken from his run on the thing, too. And you can even tell, just by Tim Sale's influence from Senior's work, it looks like he's taken a little bit of influence from it.
Absolutely.
To have the romanticized versions of all of these.
Yeah.
I really like when Senior actually jumped onto the book, even though it made, like, a more, like, handsome Peter Parker and all that kind of stuff. When I think of classic Spider-Man, that's the era I'm always thinking at. The Romita Sr. stuff.
Not the nerdy, dweeby Parker.
I never got into that stuff, and I applaud Ditko for starting it off and making it to a huge thing, but I always go to the Romita Sr. stuff.
So, with all that praise, my only real gripe with this is it feels very unfinished to me. And I say that because it opens with the Green Goblin, who we know is responsible for Gwen's death, yet it ends with a battle with Kraven the Hunter, who we find is the mastermind behind this gauntlet of villains that Spider-Man fights throughout the series.
Right.
And I kept expecting Green Goblin to, like, reemerge to bookend the story.
Yeah.
Throughout the book, it keeps showing that Norman Osborn is, like, recuperating and he has amnesia.
Yeah.
So you're just waiting for that to happen. And we know the story of Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin. Maybe it's been done to death, no pun intended. But the fact that it doesn't ever even acknowledge her death seems to me like, but what if someone didn't know all this and they're reading this story?
I guess.
I felt like there was just like this other shoe waiting to drop that never happens.
I can see that argument. I never thought that reading it. I don't disagree with you, but I feel like that's one of the most famous things in comics. And going from there, I kind of wanted to see the emergence again of Green Goblin, but then I know what happens after that. Like, Gwen Stacy gets taken up, thrown off the bridge, snap, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't miss it in this book either. Do you think that would have been, like, more of a morbid ending, though? To, like, just end with their actual death?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that would have made, like, as, like, a bittersweet of an ending. It would have been more like just a sad...
An
more
ultimatum
like
ending.
Yeah,
I will agree with that. And I think this book is more focused on, like, the life of Gwen Stacy. I don't know. I feel like to complete that story, you still need some sort of, like, acknowledgement of what happened. especially if you're going to kick it off with him fighting the Green Goblin and then leave all these things kind of hanging.
Yeah.
Unless it is just totally like, you know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But then I felt like maybe he should have like foreshadowed it more if we knew it was like this looming thing that we don't have to show.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just, maybe it's just like the unfinished nature of it is what's bugging me.
I guess agree to disagree.
All right, yeah, that's fine.
I thought it was handled really well. To the fact that we didn't have to see, like, Gwen Stacy dying.
I guess it is, like, more of a risky move to make a conscious effort not to show that panel, which would be an easy panel to do.
I do agree with you, though, that, like, they did foreshadow a lot with Norman Osborn coming back. And when he does appear at the end, I'm just like, oh, shit, now does he know? Because it's kind of left ambiguous at the end.
I guess, like, as a standalone work, it doesn't have a payoff. Knowing what comes next and what comes before it, it works. But just like, here's this, and then someone reads it for the first time, and they're like, but what happened? You know?
Yeah.
As a complete story, it's missing an ending.
But, I mean, well, if you think about it, though, that's not necessarily the story they're trying to tell. Like, he's reminiscing about Gwen's life, and then it jumps to him presently.
Yeah.
Reminiscing about Gwen. You would have to just have, like, an extra issue tacked on, where it's like, and then he figured out who I was and killed you right quick. That sucked.
Yeah. I agree. No, I think there's a balance that you have to hit, and I don't feel like this quite hit it. And I don't want, like, a bloodbath with, like, a whole issue dedicated to it.
Right.
But I think there could have been some subtle way of mentioning her fate without, like, dedicating this horrible, like, 8-page spread of her breaking her neck on the bridge. Right. I mean, I've said it many times. There's just something that felt, like, unfinished to me.
Okay.
And, like, you know, maybe that's the encapsulation of her life. It was unfinished. It was cut short. Yeah. But it didn't quite work for me how it all wrapped up. And the fact that it was Kraven behind all of the villains felt like such a weird, like, twist. Yeah. Where I liked it, but overall, like, I don't think it made it a better book. That it was like, oh, it was Kraven behind the whole thing. Right. but it's a Gwen Stacy story, and he has nothing to do with her. Right.
At first, I thought he was assembling this, like, a version of the Sinister Six. And that wasn't the case. Because I kind of was looking forward to that. Like, oh, he's going to face all of these people at the end. Yeah. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Nope. But, I mean, I got over that. But, it just more of like a gauntlet he runs through.
What'd you think of Mary Jane in this?
Like in the flashbacks? I found it weird that they introduced both Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy during the flashbacks. I don't ever associate them as being ever together, even though I know they are. Back in the Romita stuff, I always think it's like, Gwen Stacy's there, she dies, and then Mary Jane comes along for another love interest or whatever. But it was just weird to see them both together and both being chummy, and then also being with Peter and having that weird, like...
It was the 70s, man.
will they, won't they, for that whole time, and Harry's just there getting blue balled and cock blocked.
Can Peter get them into a threesome? Was what the end of every issue of Spider-Man cliffhanger done.
Should have saved this for IMPERIUS REX.
Oh, man.
But I liked her in it. I could have done without her, too, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense... in the grand scheme of things. She's not terribly likable. Like, she's... I mean, you would want to be with her because she's fun, but she's so, like, egotistical and full of herself. She cares very much about Mary Jane. Yeah. And, like, where Mary Jane goes, the party goes. See ya! And it was just like, I don't think I could be around you for, like, 10 seconds.
I could see that. But she was always loving towards Peter, and even when she was, like, with Harry, she's just, like, kissing Peter on the cheek, and it's, like, feeding him soup or some shit.
No wonder Harry becomes a Green Goblin.
No shit.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the part that never really resonates with me on Spider-Man. Okay. Is how he just can't get his shit together. How, you know, he's had some bad luck, but he's also had some amazing things just dropped in his lap. Yeah. And his just negative, like, Parker Luck, I'm always shit on, man. It's just like, dude, get it together. Like, it's part of that where you're just like, grow up, Peter. You have two beautiful women pining over you. Mm-hmm. You're living in a penthouse apartment with your rich friend. Your aunt loves you. Yeah. She's great. You have a cool job. You have
you money to buy a motorcycle.
Yeah, a motorcycle. You have amazing powers, but he's always such a downer. He's like a Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
When it's like, you've got a negative attitude, man. You need to get your shit together and just knock it off, Peter.
Right. I kind of see that.
He's the everyman, but like if the everyman won the lottery and then just got a bunch of beautiful women to surround him.
He is a selfless person. So, like, when he sees all that good stuff going on for him, he's looking outside the window being like, oh, I should probably stop that. And then he does.
Yeah.
So, like, he doesn't go for the selfish win. He goes for the selfless act.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what gets him every time. And then he catches a cold and is, like, out for weeks.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So, with all that out of the way.
Yeah.
Overall, what'd you like? What'd you think of Blue?
I think it's really great.
Yeah, it made me want to read the other Marvel Colors books.
Yes, which are all collected in this great little, almost mini omnibus.
That's right.
Of the yellow, blue, gray, and white.
The price tag isn't mini, though.
No, it is not. But I got this on a pretty decent price when it came out on In-Stock Trades. Maybe if you can find a damaged one on there.
Oh, yeah.
One little dog-eared corner. That's like 60% off, man.
Could be yours for $30. All right. So, when we first scheduled this episode, we just kind of picked two random Spider-Man books that we thought, had a lot of accolade. We should talk about them.
Yeah.
Didn't really realize how much they fit together.
I know.
Because now we're going to kind of bookend this episode with Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yeah. This was written back in 1987 by good old J.M. DeMatteis. And penciled by Mike Zeck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kraven's Last Hunt, 6-part storyline that spanned across 3 separate Spider-Man titles at the time.
Yeah.
Web of, Spectacular, and I'm assuming
probably Amazing.
Yeah. And they said the reason was to make it feel like an event. Ahead of their time, these guys at Marvel.
Yeah.
So despite how this is generally well received and regarded as one of the best Spider-Man stories of all time, this is an uncharacteristically dark Spider-Man outing. And probably because it was originally pitched as a Batman story, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, the author pitched it as a Batman story, and DC turned it down because they thought it was too similar to both The Killing Joke and another Batman story that this author went on to write.
Everything is kind of dark around this era as well. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I really enjoyed my reread of Kraven's Last Hunt. I read this years ago and loved it. And then when I revisited this time, it started off a little slow for me. That first issue, I'm like, where are we going here? And then it kicks in, and I fell in love with it all again.
I agree, although I didn't think it really started slow. Because doesn't he shoot Spider-Man by the end of the first issue?
Yeah, but by the end, yes, it had me hooked. But, like, it was the beginning where, like, Joe Face died. I'm like, who is this guy? He's Spider-Man showing up at his funeral, and I'm like, okay, that's a classy thing for him to do. And then I'm like, but what are we doing here? Yeah. Come on, let's get to it. I totally forgot all that. And if reading it and then remembering it, you'll never remember that part. No. Ever.
I made a note that there are several things in this, and I think this is regarded as such a good Spider-Man story because you don't need to know a whole lot before or after it to get the gist of what the story's about. Right. It's very much a standalone story. Yeah. But there are 3 things that I think are, like, very weird that they focus on as much as they do. And it's the death of Joe Face, the death of Ned Leeds, and Vermin.
Yes!
Where it's like, what are any of these doing in this? This would probably be a better event if it didn't focus so much on those. Yeah. At the same time, like, those were all ongoing plot lines, so I can't fault it because it had to kind of wrap those up. But reading it as its own thing, those are the parts where I'm like, So wait, what? What is all this? Who's Vermin? Like,
I remember Vermin from my first read, but I totally forgot like how big of a part he has in this.
yeah, I'd say he gets more screen time than Spider-Man does in this.
Or Kraven.
Yeah, combined.
He's got a lot of time in this. But I actually really liked Vermin in this on this read. For as much time as he got, like the very dour note that this story takes place in, I thought that he was like a weird kind of like almost throwaway character you can really do almost anything with.
Yeah. Well, I think the writer created Vermin.
Okay.
So
really
that's why he had full. He had to like just do whatever you want with him.
But I also like that he has like almost a little horror aspects to the character as well.
He's a cannibal.
Yeah, that he could sprinkle into this already kind of dark tale that it looks like they're just letting him do whatever on.
I think it's very funny that the best Spider-Man story is a rejected Batman story.
I mean, it's the point of when this takes place in 1987. He's got the black costume, so he can already be
primo.
moody. So I also want to add this before I forget. Like, I like the black costume, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
And everyone totally jays off to it. And I like it a lot, but it's not, like, I don't like it enough to be like, oh, the black costume's the best fucking costume ever! But in
Rain that symbiote down my chin.
But in this, Mike Zeck's art is so good in this.
Oh, God.
Like, when the black costume would just, like, appear out of the shadows, I'm just like... Oh my god, chef kiss.
Yep.
That's so good.
Yeah, and looking at the back matter on this of his pencils, they are phenomenal.
Yes.
I would love to see like an artist edition of this.
Oh my
I think
god.
they show an entire first issue of just pencils in the back matter.
Oh my.
And it is so good.
Yeah.
You know, like he doesn't X out those blacks. He shades every one of those.
So there's like a ton of like famous black suit poses that you see everywhere anytime they like do a clip art of anything, they throw it in. Almost all of them are from this book.
Yeah. That cover of Spider-Man digging his way out of his grave is one of like the greatest comic covers of all time.
Right.
And I feel like that image is one of the reasons this is regarded so highly. Because that is such a great image. We're like, don't even care. Great. Best Spider-Man ever. So, this story is very simple, very short and straightforward.
Right.
Kraven shoots Spider-Man.
Right.
Buries him alive, and then takes the mantle of the Spider to patrol the streets of New York, beats Vermin, something that Spider-Man, for some reason, wasn't able to do on his own.
He needed the help of Captain America,
Which
Vermin
brings so many times.
Many times that I thought that I thought Captain America was going to show up in this. Like, he's referencing him so much that I thought he was just going to materialize.
Exactly.
Like a shield would just come in, clang off his fucking stupid rat face.
But Kraven beats Vermin.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man digs his way out, confronts Kraven. Kraven's like, we're cool, bro. Spider-Man goes on his way, and then Kraven shoots himself.
Right.
And that is essentially it.
Yeah.
And then there's like 2 more issues where Spider-Man tracks down Vermin and beats him on his own.
Yep.
Through sunlight.
Right.
He just chases him into traffic, and he's defeated.
Right.
And then that's a wrap up. But the thing that everyone remembers of this story is Kraven kills himself.
Right.
And stays dead for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the specifics of how he came back.
I don't either.
It's not important. What's important is that he kills himself.
Yeah.
And it kind of means something. Like, this story is very focused on characterization.
Right. I really like that too because they don't bring up like a ton of past adventures with the two clashing with each other, but they make reference to like, yeah, I've tried to beat him. I can't do it. This time I'm really going to do it. I'm going to show that I'm superior. And he says that he's going to be the superior Spider-Man, which I'm like, oh my god, if the freaking hindsight of this.
Yep.
But it's really good, and I really like that Kraven's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna use a gun on this piece of shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And even like to the point where like he's got him trapped in that net, and Spider-Man's like, "Hey, come on, you wouldn't use a gun, would you?"
Pow!
Pow!
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep.
Buries him alive that we didn't know about yet. But he just used like a poison or trank dart or whatever. He didn't have to kill him. He almost wanted to show him, because he knew he would like dig himself out, that like not only did I kill you. Yeah. I buried you alive. I took your mantle, and I did it better than you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Boom.
I'm out. Brain drop.
Yeah. Live with that the rest of your life, idiot.
Yeah.
But I even thought like the actual suicide of Kraven was really well handled in this, because he's like kind of giving his like final memoirs or whatever, and then you just see like his thumb on the shotgun trigger and just like a coffin full of blood, and I'm like, God
his leg,
damn,
like, arched over the side of it, and he's collapsed inside.
Yeah. Granted, I do agree with you that what you said earlier. It does not feel like a traditional Spider-Man story.
No.
But with it leaping out of like what it traditionally is and telling this kind of other story over here, I think this is why it stands out. Because of this, and it's very well written.
Yeah. Yep. My only caveat with how well written it is the overuse of the thought balloons.
Oh, yes. I had that too, because he's like,
it gets to the point where there's like 3 separate trains of thought from one person happening over the course of a page, sometimes sharing the same panel.
Yes.
Where it is just so much to go through, where it's like, this is just overkill.
Especially near the end there, where he's like tracking down vermin in the sewer.
Yes.
Holy cow.
I just need to get him buried alive. I just gotta get him out to the sunlight. Dead. It's just...
I'm scared. I'm not scared of you, vermin. I'm terrified. Burning! And it's like, what is happening here?
I know. Like, I get it. But it's a little overkill.
Yeah.
So much that, like, sometimes it's even... You have to go back and reread it, where, like, maybe he'll start a thought on one page, and then, like, 2 pages later, he'll finish it, while having all this action dialogue in separate thoughts in the middle. Yeah. We're like, oh, was that a continuation of that? Like, it's just too much. Like, I feel like today that would have been, like, just cut down big time.
Probably.
They don't really do thought balloons anymore, but it works for this. It's just like a fire hose of thought balloons.
Oh, for sure it is.
And a lot of it is him panicking, being buried alive. But it carries over to the point where it's like, okay, like, come on, Peter.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
What got me the most is at the end where Mary Jane is finally glad to see Peter back, and he has to smell like total shit. And she totally hugs him and kisses him like, that's bullshit.
Don't they bang then?
It's just disgusting. Like, even Peter makes reference to like, I don't want to be here. I'm like knee-deep in shit fighting this vermin creature. I got rats biting me all over the place. I probably have some sort of disease. And
I'm gonna go finger my wife.
Mary Jane comes up and just hugs him right away. I'm so glad you smell like shit. That never happened.
No.
He's dripping in human waste at the end of this book.
So talking about Mary Jane, I do like that they dedicated a lot of time to focus on her kind of dealing with this. And the theme of death permeates this book from start to finish, where Peter's still like reeling over the death of these 2 close acquaintances. And then she's worried about Peter going out like night after night on this. It's something that we don't often see in Spider-Man books, especially at this time. Where I'm like, okay, this book is saying something where, like a hero that goes out and he's not invincible, like, that's a very real concern that isn't usually addressed. And it was cool to see it happen in this, where Kraven, he gets a drop on him.
Oh, for sure.
Puts him in the ground, and Spider-Man's like, shit, like, why haven't I thought someone could do this to me before?
Right.
This sucks.
No guns from here on out.
I thought that was really good, and that was kind of the central theme of this. I also really enjoyed, like, Kraven's crazy, like, nightmare hallucinogenic experience with the swarm of spiders that he eventually, like, has to ingest and then become the spider. Like, the thing he fears most. He decides, like, I'm gonna become that. And I feel like they really probably should have just kept Kraven dead, you know? This was a great way for him to go out. And however he's been back, you haven't heard anything about it. So, like, this is his claim to fame right now. Going out with a bang.
Yeah.
Literally.
For sure. If there could be another, like, Mary Jane or Uncle Ben, if Kraven killed himself here and stayed dead, I think it would be a... I mean, he did for a while, but it would make, like, a really fitting like little send-off for a pretty great character. I love Kraven, to be
Me too. I was kind of hoping that you would come with the Lion's Mane.
I couldn't have my mom put it together in time.
Shit. Maybe we'll read another Kraven book. There aren't any.
Got her.
But yeah, I feel like that could be something that would weigh on Spider-Man for some time too.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, he feels like he needs to take on the weight of the world. Kraven killing himself is not Spider-Man's problem, but that would be something that would just burden him forever.
Yeah.
So, all criticisms aside, a pretty monumental book for Spider-Man.
Yep.
CBR readers, that's comicbookresources.com, trash site.
It is, it's garbage.
Voted it the greatest Spider-Man story ever told. IGN ranked it 6th best, noting it's one of the more memorable Spider-Man stories of all time, without a doubt, which I can't disagree with.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the appeal. It's short, you can sum it up in about 2 sentences, and it has the death of a minor character along with one of the most amazing Spider-Man images of all time.
Yes.
Him clawing his way out of the grave.
Yep.
So, yeah, I would say it still holds up. Stands the test of time.
I would say so too. Yeah, for sure.
So that's it. Other than Ultimate Spider-Man, which we've all raved about, and eventually we'll touch on, are there any other great Spider-Man storylines that we should read and discuss? I have a hard time with Spider-Man because I like the character.
Yeah.
I love his rogues gallery, and I grew up on the cartoon.
Yep.
But I can't think of a whole lot of, like, runs or arcs or storylines of Spider-Man that are amazing.
I have...
It's not like Batman, you know, where, like, a writer jumps on and it's like, oh, Frank Miller's Batman, or Snyder's Batman, or this one or this one. It's just like, someone goes on Spider-Man and they write it until they die.
Pretty much.
And then there's no jumping on point. You have to read it from the beginning because it's all one long story.
Yeah.
And it's all, like, kind of the same.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Spider-Man needs more individual writers that can tell, like, these succinct stories.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I did go and purchase recently, like, a chunk of Dan Slott's run because I want to chip into that.
Me too.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, Spider-Man's my favorite character, and he's probably, other than, like, Ultimate Spider-Man, I've probably read, like, the least of him.
Yeah.
Because I had this picture of him in my mind of, like, what I want him to be. And so I hold him in this high regard, and maybe that's if I went in to read him, I'm like, maybe I don't like him that much at all. I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe I'll dive into Dan Slott and see how that goes.
Yeah, there's a lot of arcs of Dan Slott's that I've heard about, you know, but no one more than the other. So, I don't know. Like, I've read some of the early Stan Lee Spider-Man, and it's great, you know, but it doesn't quite, you can't put it up with some of the modern stuff just because it's, you know, it's from
like
that
a classic
time.
Seminal work or whatever, yeah.
But that seems to be, like, the best that Spider-Man ever is like these classic, like, the first 50 issues of Spider-Man is as good as it is now. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make me want to read it.
And he's like your company's mascot.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, it's just consistently fine.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I'm up for some good Spider-Man stories. Maybe some, like, weirder ones. One of my favorite is Kari Andrews' Reign.
Yeah,
because
I like
it's
that one
so
too.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
And I know that gets shit on by people, but like, I like it
for
because
like
it's so
panel.
different. Yeah. So like, maybe more weird individual, like, side stories like that.
Yeah. I'd be into that too. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So let us know what you thought of these two titles, and let us know what are your personal favorite Spidey stories.
That's right.
Spin a web down below of your favorite little tales.
Clean up after yourself.
But if you enjoyed this, please join us on our Patreon. We have more little perks for our Patreon members going on.
That's right, a twice monthly, occasionally, podcast, well as some insight into our online live book club.
Until next time, I have been Short of the Max Extreme.
And I've been Ghost Hunter Dave.
And we've been Imperius Rex. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And to think, I almost forgot this t-shirt today.
Ah, you fuck.